for me, and I've said this to a few people, I don't really care what your business does. I care about you as a person. I need to know what your business does. That's a kind of real core part of what we do. But actually, it's more about the people. What you say there about don't think you're good at networking. I don't think there is a good or bad. In my opinion, people are the best at it, just their personality.
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter what your personality is to a certain degree. It's just being you.
Welcome to So This Works, the podcast about work-life balance. On this episode, I talk to Mike Edwards, the director of the Northern Affinity, a new initiative to support business networking and collaboration. We talk about why he started the business, the joys of networking, and Liverpool FC, amongst other things. I hope you enjoy the episode. Don't forget to nod your head to the beat and stay tuned. Mike Edwards, Northern Affinity, thank you for joining me on the podcast. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
I've introduced you just like I introduce everyone at the start of the podcast, but it's always better when we hear directly from you. So could you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do?
No problem, yeah. So it's Michael Edwards, or Mike Edwards, as I said, Northern Affinity. I'm the director of the company. I've been self-employed, running my own business now for about 3.5 years, but set up the Northern Affinity start of this year. So been 6-7 months or whatever it is now. Feels like a lifetime to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And it kind of comes from an idea I had probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it's kind of been nagging away at the back of my mind for a little while. And as I've decided to kind of run down the business that I was running previously, is something I didn't enjoy as much. I wanted to do something that I did. So it felt like the perfect opportunity to take the idea that I'd had for a few years.
Yeah.
It's evolved and changed a little bit over the time, but just run with it.
Fantastic.
And so that kind of, the whole process started earlier this year, and it's been fantastic. Been dealing with so many great people and having a lot of fun as well as doing a lot of business, and never been busier in my life.
Fantastic.
But, most importantly, really, really enjoying it as well. So,
Wonderful.
Yeah, so really growing, which is great.
We'll show a very quick clip of the Northern Affinity. So for those of you watching the video, we can play that to you now. For those of you who are watching the audio version or listening to the audio version, you'll hear about the Northern Affinity. So just check out this 60-second clip. Here we go.
I think for someone, if they will think about partnering up with Northern Affinity, there's many reasons for joining, but one of the main reasons would be that there is a group of people with very similar values. They believe in collaboration, working together and helping each other grow. Now, with the businesses within the Northern Affinity, they may have all sorts of different aims for their business. They might be happy to keep just them and getting a nice little income. Other people might be trying to set up a multinational organisation. It doesn't really matter. It's all about the value. So working together, and there's always some value we can always help each other with. The other big area is around the time saving element. There is a lot to do when you're running a business, and the Northern Affinity is very much focused on real quality referrals, be that for someone to use you for your services or your products, or just as importantly to work together, whether it's on projects or for a point of expertise.
So the Northern Affinity sounds great. Just tell us as much as you like. Tell us about the Northern Affinity.
So the whole idea, I guess, behind the Northern Affinity was to kind of take the experiences I had with the world of working with other businesses and working with other people and connecting, and just trying to give people a different option to maybe what's out there, and using the technology that we have, and it's not groundbreaking technology through things like social media and WhatsApp and other such technology, and kind of take away this need for people to have to turn up once a week or once a fortnight to a particular event to network. The whole idea is that people will work together and collaborate. It can happen 24/7. It's not going to be happening 24/7, but it can happen at any point. It's not just a one fixed event in time. So the whole idea behind it really is that the people in the group, I sit with them when we first sign up, and we spend, some of the people I've been sit with 4 or 5 hours really digging deep into their business, which is really important, but actually more importantly, the person behind the business. And where they want to go with the business, and it's such a widespread of different people who just want something, a business that replaces the need to have a normal full-time job, to people who want to rule the world, and quite realistically, most people are somewhere in the middle of that.
Safe zone.
So it's kind of finding out that about them and understanding what they want to do and where they want to grow the business, and then taking all that information from all the different people in the group and putting them together with the right people.
Fantastic.
And that could be for, I found it's million and one different reasons. It could be that they have the same target customers. It could be that they live close to each other. It could be that they're in the same industry. It could be they could do very similar things. And one of the things I'm finding is people who do similar things actually work really, really well together, because generally people have a niche or an area. So to work with someone who does something similar but slightly different can be a really powerful tool, and that's kind of what it's all about. It's that collaboration and working together.
Fantastic. I think sometimes there's a worry that if you find two people who do the same thing and you put them in the same room, that they'll suddenly be in competition with each other. So if you have two photographers in the same room, that's like, oh, well, let me look at your photos and let me judge them.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the exact opposite. I think that they're brilliant opportunities, because, I mean, the example of photography is a great one, because one might be specialist in commercial. One might do buildings, property. Someone else might do weddings. There's all different areas. And quite often people do some crossover, but that's fine. You can work together, but you might be also, not just the type of thing you do, it might be the size of the customer that you're targeting might be slightly different. So you might have one who is more, they're more bothered about a quantity type of approach, as many customers as they want, and the other people are real high quality, really kind of focused on one or two people, and that's their thing. So them two can work together, because rather than trying to fudge what they do with people, kind of customers they might not want to deal with, they can pass between themselves. And I've seen that in a number of different areas. So that's kind of one of the focuses I really think has worked actually so far in the relatively early stages of what we're doing.
Fantastic. So is it in its early stages? Are you happy with how things are going? Is it a scary time? Are you giving all of the hours under the sun to it at the moment?
Yes, it's. I'm delighted with how it's gone so far. It's kind of really exploded more than I expected it to, which has been great. The plan was actually to do a soft launch over the summer, which kind of did happen, but it became quite a hard launch, very time-consuming, lots of hours, more than expected, but in a good way. That's a good thing about all this is all the things I'm doing. It's fun, it's enjoyable, and it's working out well. So the amount of inquiries that we've been getting from various sources, whether it's people within the group referring people in, or through social media, which is a big area for what we do as well. It's been fantastic. So absolutely no complaints. It is a bit scary sometimes that it's growing quite quickly. Because with the workspace that we've now taken on and about to open, it's kind of, that was originally in my medium-term plans, maybe about 18 months down the line, and ended up being more like 8 minutes down the line.
Much sooner than initial plans.
So that bit's a little bit scary as well, but that's seeming to, we're not even open yet, but there seems to be some good reaction so far and lots of interest, which is great.
Fantastic. I mean, you touched on doing something that you enjoy, which I think is really important. It's the whole reason for this podcast, really. It's about it's about meeting people who do something they enjoy. Maybe they used to do something they didn't enjoy as much. Would you mind sharing, and I don't want to get you in trouble with anyone who you may have, you might still have a great relationship with, a past client or colleague, what you did before you did the Northern Affinity?
Of course, So most of my career, actually, by the odd thing, in terms of my employed career and self-employed, has been working in finance. I worked at one of the major banks for a number of years, and I did my own commercial finance brokerage till I did the Northern Affinity. And it's fine. The thing about it, what I did there was there was an element of it I really loved, which was the sitting in front of a business who quite often were growing. I mean, that's kind of a bit of a misconception about the whole business finance world, is actually most people looking for finance is because they're growing, doing really well, so they just need that help to take them to the next step. So it's not actually generally people who are struggling. So that bit was great. Love that part of it, sitting down 2-3 hours, understanding people's businesses and where they want to go again, a bit like what I do with the Northern Affinity. However, it's a very highly regulated area of the world, and understandably, probably most people are aware of what happened back in 2008 and the banking crash, and it really accelerated the need for regulation, further regulation in that industry. So a lot of what you do is around that side of things, which is some people that's fine, they enjoy that, but it's just not me. So I'm finding that was more of a distraction, and because it's something you don't enjoy as much, quite frankly, it was taking me longer than it probably should do, because I was putting it off and doing other things, doing what you needed to do, but doing it wasn't always the priority in terms of getting it done, and then the days were longer, and you get more and more frustrated because you weren't doing the things you wanted to do. It's an area of the world I've probably, that's pretty much all I've known, barring a few other things. But and it's shaped what I'm doing actually at the Northern Affinity. Again, going back to that, sitting down, and when you sit down and talk to a business about lending money to grow, you don't actually talk about finance for that much of that conversation.
Right.
It's actually more about the whole business, what they do, where they're planning to go, marketing, personnel, whatever it might be. The finance kind of is what it is to a certain extent. It's numbers and figures on a spreadsheet. So there's not actually, you do ask questions and find out a bit more about it, but actually the other stuff is the majority of the things that you talk about. So actually those skills, I guess, that I've developed over the years in that area is what I'm trying to take into what I'm doing now with Northern Affinity. And it kind of, a lot of this links back to a lot of the networking I was doing when growing the commercial finance business, and seeing so many great things that you could do, meeting some brilliant people and going to some great events, but just thinking that there's other ways of doing this. Better or worse, that's not for me to decide. That's other people's thoughts. And I don't think there's a right or wrong way. Everybody's different. Everybody's individual. Different things will work for you and your business. I felt there was a gap there to maybe embrace some of the technology and kind of take, again, as I mentioned, take away this idea of networking has to happen or collaboration has to happen on a particular day, at a particular time, in a particular location.
Exactly. I mean, the way that we met was at another networking event, and it was a really nice networking event. I enjoyed it. Some things that I've shared several times already on this podcast is that I don't think I'm a great networking person. I think I've got a personality. I think when it comes to talking about business and what I do, I probably struggle after a little while. But if I find a hook with someone that, we can talk about a common interest, something that's happening in the news, something that we all watched on television last night, and you develop a bit of a conversation, a bit of a rapport, I think you warm to people a little bit better. And I think that's one of the things that I appreciate when I first met you, is because we said hi. There's a quick hi, and then you got in touch with me and you said, well, should we go for a coffee? So we went to Acosta and we sat down and we talked about our respective careers, but then we also talked about our personal interests as well, and I really appreciated that about you. I think I struggle a little bit with just talking about business, but how have you handled that? How does networking work for you?
I think it's a really interesting point, actually. I think that for me, and I've said this to a few people, I don't really care what your business does. I care about you as a person. I need to know what your business does. That's a kind of real core part of what we do. But actually, it's more about the people. And what you said there about don't think you're good at networking. I don't think there is a good or bad, actually, to a certain extent. I think it's, in my opinion, people are the best at it, just their personality. And that doesn't matter what your personality is to a certain degree. It's just being you. It's one of the things I think we're all quite good at, is when you know that somebody isn't being them, they're trying to be something that they think they should be. And that comes across as false, and therefore sort of and I don't blame the person. They're not trying to do it to deceive anyone. They're just trying to act a character to a certain extent. They think that would work in that environment.
They try to sell something out. They try to sell themselves in the best possible light, which I completely get. Hence why I go to I go to networking events, and I've been to networking events in the past where I've put a shirt and a tie and a suit on, and I look great and wonderful. And, it's great. It's nice when you see people dressed smartly. I appreciate smart attire.
Yep.
If I'm really honest, though, it's not me. I'll do suits at weddings or funerals. But, what I'm wearing now is what I would wear normally. I'm in a t-shirt and jeans at the moment, but for the nature of my business, where I'm running around, where I'm probably got a camera, I might be on my knees at one point, I might have to climb something, I've got to lift wires and lift cables and lift heavy items. I'm not going to do a suit and a tie. So to go to a networking event and put that on to, sell myself at a networking event, even though it's probably the right thing to do, it doesn't really suit me. But everyone's different.
Yeah, no, funny enough, I was in the conversation with someone else earlier today about the whole thing like clothing and things like that. And as I mentioned earlier, finance, my background, when I first started in that, everybody, you wore a black suit. Anyone in even a slightly different colour to black suit was strange.
Yeah.
And so things have moved on a little bit on that.
Yeah.
But I found this really nice since I've done this, that I have a shirt and a trousers on today, but I actually very rarely now wear I'm mainly jeans and a polo shirt.
Yeah.
That's the attire that I wear on most days. And that's really nice. And I think that is more me. But I still, because of the background, my default setting, if I'm not sure, I will go a little bit more back to that suited, not a tie. I mean, apart from weddings or funerals, as you mentioned, I don't think I've wore a tie in 5 years. I don't do that anymore. But I think there's still that kind of certain area people do feel like they have to conform to a certain stereotype. But I think, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, be you. That's the thing that's, to me, the most important. When I meet someone, that's all I'm particularly bothered about. I'm not that bothered about what they do. That's part of the question, because that's part of the conversation, because there's a reason you're having a conversation, and actually part of your personality is quite often what you do as well. But actually the person, to me, is the most important. And I think of all the people who I've met over the years, that the kind of relationships have kept going over many years. It's generally because you would sit and just have a chat with them about anything and everything that's not potentially work. The kind of work ones kind of come and go a little bit. But I suppose it's kind of a bit of a cliche, but if you go for a pint down the pub with them, that's how you're going to build relationships in business, in life, obviously, as well.
Of course.
You've got something in common that you can feel comfortable to have a chat about. And I think it's one of the things that I'm very aware of when talking about connecting people within the Northern Affinity is the personalities. They don't have to be the same personalities, but they have. It always helps if they've got potentially something in common. And going back to what we were saying earlier about people in similar industries, they've probably got something in common. There's probably a reason they're a photographer. It might just not be just because of their love of being a photographer. They will have likely have similar interests, similar hobbies. And therefore there's an obvious connection there.
Definitely. Well, actually touching then on hobbies, because it's great hearing about what you've done, what you're currently doing, talking about work, but you're not just a working person who has no life away from work.
Sometimes feels like that.
It probably feels like that at the moment, but I hope that will change for you as soon as possible. But what are your hobbies and interests away from the world of work? What do you do when you're having a little bit of downtime, some personal time? What do you do?
Well, probably two things that take up my time. I have a 4-year-old.
Right.
So that can be quite time consuming. I'm very lucky doing what I'm doing. Running my own business is obviously time is flexible, and I pick him up every day apart from one every week from school. I've pretty much done that since he started, and nursery and all that kind of thing. I've not missed out on a lot of things because I can be flexible. We have a nice summer's day, and we can go to the park for a few hours during the day, and
that's great.
I'll make my time up and I'll work on a night if I have to. And I think that's that was one of my real motivations to start my own business. When in my previous job, I was pretty much leaving as he was getting up and getting home as he was going to bed, and I kind of thought, well, there must be more to it than that. And it kind of coincided with my wife's maternity leave finishing, so it was about as he was a year old, and so it kind of became a good opportunity for me to say, right, well, I'll set my own business up, start it essentially as a part-time thing. So it'll be in nursery a couple of days a week. I'll do I'll look after him a couple of days a week with better help from grandparents when we can, and enjoy that. But then try and build a business, and it kind of all snowballed from there, really.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Because I think so many times I've seen, men who have children and they're working all of the hours, working every hour under the sun, and then they miss out on that time with their children. Absolutely. And it's tragic. It's really sad.
Yeah.
But I think what you're saying there is just it's fantastic that you get to do what you love, but then you also get to spend time with family as well.
Absolutely. And knowing, obviously, he's just started school now, so there's less of that time during the week. So there's only for most of us 3 or 4 years roughly where you can get that time. Yeah. Obviously, there's holidays and all that kind of stuff. But I was very lucky that, and I remember saying this when I first set up, is if I got myself to the point where I can do that with him until he starts school, and if I had to go then and get a normal full-time job, then it'll have been worth it. Yeah, because I'll have had that. Yeah. So the fact that we're past that point now is a bonus. Is absolutely fine. So it's so that was a big motivator and still is really is going forward, and it's great to have that flexibility. Yeah. So one of your hobbies that I know about football. Yep. Which is we connected on that level, I think, and and I think this shows great strength that we support teams that should dislike each other and do dislike each other, and therefore we should say, I'm not being your friend then. I support Manchester United, and I don't hide that. Who do you support, Mike? I'm fortunate enough to be a season ticket holder to Liverpool. Current European champions. For now. Current Premier League leaders. Yeah, okay. Hopefully till about mid-May. This podcast will last forever and ever, so we are recording this at the end of 2019, so in 4 years' time, if someone's listening to this, you might not be the current champions. I'm just saying that. I'll just put that out there. But for now, you're looking quite good. Yes, it's been a good time, and I'm lucky as well, kind of going back to the whole family thing. It's the thing I do with my dad. Yeah. So we get to... We go every single home game. We go to maybe about a quarter of the away games, which involves obviously a few European trips and things like that. So it's I'm sure for a lot of people, when you get a bit older and you've got kids of your own, you don't probably spend as much time with your own parents as you want to. So that's it's a great opportunity for me and my dad to spend that time. Quite often stuck on the M62 to Liverpool, but travelling away and going various places around Europe. It's a big part, time consuming thing of what I do, and it's nice. It's strange with the Northern Affinities. It's grown over the summer. It was very, very busy, and I got to a point where I felt like that was all I was doing, and my mind was only ever concentrated on that, and it got a bit kind of fatigued a little bit mentally with it, and I had to have a few days, and I noticed as soon as the football season started again, and so you're having these maybe every other week roughly and a little bit more, where you were going to the match, and I wouldn't think about work for that evening or that afternoon, and that has made a big difference. That feels like my break from the mental, because as much as try to switch off when you're at home on an evening and stuff like that, if you just sat watching television, your mind wanders to things and start thinking about work, whereas the football generally that is it. So it's a really big part actually of what I do, and I think it really helps. So yes, it's nice having that option to switch off, isn't it? So absolutely. It's something that provides some escapism from I would say the daily grind, but what we do for the majority of our weeks, it's nice having that. Have you followed Liverpool since you were a child? I did, yes. So my dad took me to a first game when I was 7, which was funnily enough against Manchester United. Right, okay. At Wembley. In the Do you remember the score? Shield. Yes, it was 1-1. Okay. It was when they shared the Charity Shield at the time. So, and I was sat in the Man United end. Right. And I still remember from the day on the way down the train all the way, my dad saying, Liverpool scored, don't cheer. Bear in mind, this was 1990, so obviously the football experience is a lot more family friendly now than it was in 1990. Yeah. So all the way down, don't cheer. And Liverpool scored in the first 15 minutes or something like that, and obviously I jumped up and cheered. Oh dear. And I still remember now all the people around just laughing. All right. Okay. Really, really nice, and I know my mum was really worried about me going to the game as because of the time we were in and everything like that. And one of the other big memory I remember of the days, for anybody who's ever been to Wembley and come out and gone to the Tube afterwards, it's an absolute, 90,000 people trying to get on a tube at once is interesting.
Yeah.
I remember getting on the tube and just stood there, and obviously I'm 7 years old, everyone else, it's all grown men, and a lot of the Man United fans noticed I was on there, and they all basically parted and stood back, so I could be on the tube and I had space around me and I wasn't condensed on the tube.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I'd been set up to expect the worst of what it could be like, and it was the exact opposite experience, actually.
See, Man United fans are lovely.
I must have had this dozen or so outliers.
A one-off experience.
Yeah. But not everyone was, and it's kind of quite often the opposite experience of what is maybe portrayed in the media and things like that. And like I said, I go to a lot of games and have done for many, many years now, and the experience 99.9% of the time is something very, very different. Unfortunately, you get the odd bad thing that gets reported, and most of it doesn't. Yeah, it's one of my frustrations in life, actually.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, so it's it's been a long time, 1990. So we're coming to 30 years.
30 years of sport. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's I've still never seen us win a league trophy.
Might be a while. People watching this, it could happen very soon. It might not, but we'll just have to wait and see, won't we?
A lot of fingers crossing.
So you're married to Gemma.
Yep.
Who I've had the privilege of meeting as well at a networking event.
Yes.
You're a great team. Gemma also works for herself as well, doesn't she?
She does, yeah.
Yeah.
So she's got her own content marketing company that she set up a couple of years or so ago now. And again, fortunately, that's really taken off, and she's doing fantastic. Been really growing. There's kind of her and her business partner, and they use various other people that work with as well. So that's really taken off. So it brings its challenges, and it's but it's also really good. We've both got that flexibility in our lives as well. Are
there any challenges of two people being self-employed, working for themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there is that. There is that a lack of structure in your life, really. That if one of you or both of you in a normal full-time job, you kind of would play off that, and the other one would react and kind of build their day and their week around that. Where one of the things we found, especially in the early days, was that it would be too easy to kind of assume the other one would be, especially when it comes to the little one, to doing various things, because I had something, they had something, and it got quite difficult to manage. There's a lack of real structure in his lives. One of the things since he started school, that's actually kind of helped us really is build a structure around that. So that's one real big challenge. And the other one is, again, going back to switching off, there's always something you want to talk about the business, and whether it's an idea or a thought. And I'm lucky that she helps me a lot with my business, the nature of what she does for the marketing side. She there's a lot of things she does and can help me with. Yeah. So I'm often asking her to do things, and she's obviously got lots of her own customers to deal with, and so there's that temptation that your conversations always end up coming back to work.
Hopefully she doesn't charge you too much for her services.
It's more an emotional charge that nor various things on Amazon come through the door. That's the way. So rather than directly being paid, I get charged in many different ways.
Fantastic. It's always the way. Right. Okay. Well, just moving away from that, I'm going to play a game with you, and we play this game with everyone who comes on. The game is called This or That. Very simple, childish way of saying, would you rather do this or would you rather do that? Okay. I'm going to give you two options. Two options of two different ideas, two different things, and you have to select one of them. You're
not going to get me in trouble.
I'm not going to get you in any trouble, don't worry. Because I also have a wife who I have to go home to, and I don't want to be in trouble with her, so don't worry. There won't be any, you won't be in trouble. You'll be fine. Okay. Right, okay. So, two options.
Okay.
I've got around 10 of these. So here we go with this or that. The first one is raising money for charity. Would you rather jump into a cage underwater surrounded by sharks, or do a bungee jump?
Easy, sharks.
Really?
Yeah, I've always wanted to go shark diving.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't like heights, so
Okay.
that's a nice and easy one for me. I hope they're all this easy.
But do you think the teeth and these killer animals could...
I actually had the chance to
scary?
do when I went to South Africa many years ago, but unfortunately I had a really, really bad hangover and it was quite early in the morning, so I ended up not going, and it was like a 3-hour road trip to get to it.
Right.
And I know a few people did it and suffered, shall we say. But it's one thing I'd love to do, actually.
Okay.
I'd really like to do that.
Fair
I'm not
enough.
really an extreme type person, like things like bungee jumping or anything like that's not really my thing, but that's one of the probably few that I would do.
Okay. Slightly easier one, I think. Easier than that. Riding a camel or riding a horse?
Camel? Got something to hold on to, I guess. The humps. That's the only thing I can think. And horses are quite quick.
They're quite fast.
Yeah, I've been to the horse racing and I've seen how quick and how big. I know camels are obviously big, but I've seen how big them things are. Not much to hold on to.
Not a fan. Cool. You do a lot of meetings and you meet in a lot of coffee shops. So here's one for you: Costa Coffee or Starbucks?
Starbucks, because I really like the fruit toast.
Right.
For breakfast. That's my only reason.
Not because of the drinks.
No, I don't actually drink coffee.
Okay.
If it's hot drink, it's tea for me.
Yeah.
But the food options at Costa are not as good as Starbucks, in my opinion. And it's the fruit toast. I really like it.
I don't think I've ever had the fruit toast.
Yeah, fruit toast with a bit of jam and butter. There you go. There's a hint and tip for you.
I will go, and we've promoted them as well. So you're welcome, Starbucks. Please invest in their podcast so this works.
See, I'm helping you along.
You are helping,
Sponsored by Starbucks.
Hopefully so. I think they've got some money. Next one, 80s. The A-Team or Knight Rider?
Knight Rider.
Why?
It's the Hoff, isn't it? And the car. Kit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I had the car like a toy car.
Yeah.
With the red light, wasn't it? When it spoke, yeah. Tough one.
What was it? Was he called Michael Knight?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Right.
That's why it was Knight Rider. Yeah, Michael Knight, the Hoff, yeah. Both really good. I liked both of them.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's the Hop that
it's the Hop that swings it for you. That's cool. Number 5, Liverpool heroes: Robbie Fowler or Mo Salah?
Robbie Fowler.
Yeah,
my favourite player, especially as a kid.
Okay.
My first game at Anfield actually was the game. If people football fans might remember when he scored a hat trick in 4 minutes against Arsenal.
Right.
It was the record
for
a lot of years. That was my first ever game, and it was my hero as a player. Yeah,
Robbie Fowler.
Definitely. 100% for me.
Fantastic. Robbie Fowler it is. Next one: watching live music or watching live stand-up comedy?
Stand-up comedy. Not a massive music fan, actually.
Okay.
Never really liked neither my parents really. Never around it.
Yeah.
Young, but done quite a lot of stand-up comedy. Seen a lot of stand-up comedians over the years.
Have you got a favourite?
Lee Evans.
Okay.
He's the best I've seen. Although I did see the last one I saw actually was Ricky Gervais, and I wasn't always a massive fan of his stand-up. I liked his comedy acting stuff.
Yeah.
But his last one was really, really good and really enjoyed it. I think so him. Yeah, I can think of Jimmy Carr as well. Quite like Jimmy Carr.
Okay, nice. Well, considering you don't like music as much, I'm going to ask you a musical one.
Okay, cool.
Michael Bolton or Celine Dion?
It's not much of a choice, that, is it, Tim?
You got to pick one.
I'll go Celine Dion purely because Titanic. That's the only thing I can think of, the reason to pick her. It's a pretty terrible film, I guess. But it's a well-known film with a really well-known song.
Yeah. I think she made a bob or two out of that.
Yeah,
that one.
She probably continue to do so for a number of years.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, business question.
Oh dear.
Terms of payment in 14 days or payment in 30 days?
14. I guess going back to my background with commercial finance, I've seen one of the things that for a lot of businesses, the payment terms thing, which there's a lot of industries that that die for 30 days. They'd be happy with that actually, and unfortunately it's quite often the larger companies that squeeze the smaller companies on payment terms. So reducing it as low as possible for me, I would
When people pay quickly, I love those people, and I want to work with them again and again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Okay, almost there. The pyramids.
Okay.
Or the Grand Canyon.
Oh, good question. Probably the pyramids, actually. Because I did go to Vegas and never went to the Grand Canyon. Didn't really get time, actually. I was on there for a relatively short period. But yeah, the pyramids, I think. Quite like to see them.
Okay.
I don't really know why. Grand Canyon's just kind of a big hole, isn't it? Whereas I suppose the pyramids is more of a feat of people from hundreds of years ago.
Fair enough. Okay, and the final one. Okay. Again, think about business, think about networking.
Okay.
Would you rather have a full-on weekend conference about sustainability measures in the workplace, or a weekend of non-stop rom-coms starring Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, etc.?
Oh, wow.
But in both of those, everything is full on. So your sustainability conference is session after session after session after session. Your weekend of non-stop rom-coms is 90-minute movie after 90-minute movie after 90-minute movie after 90-minute movie.
For no other reason than at least I can sit on my sofa and not move, I would have to go for the rom-coms.
You love them, really. Go on, be honest.
Yes, I'm a massive fan. Does that sound convincing? Yeah. I guess that's the only thing. At least on a weekend, at least you can just lay there. You can kind of pretend to watch something. I mean, it would get slightly boring, especially if you're missing the football. That'd be devastating. But I think I'd have to go for the rom-coms.
Okay, that's the game. That's this or that. I don't decide. Just going to wrap things up, Mike. Thank you so much for talking to us. One thing I'd like to ask you as well, put you on the spot a little bit. If you had any tips about business or life or how to work better, work smarter, if you could give someone a piece of advice, maybe someone who is starting a business, or maybe someone who's been in business for a long, long time and is maybe losing sight of why they do what they do.
Yeah.
Could you give some advice?
Well, for me, I think I might focus on people maybe who are thinking about starting a business or just at the early stages, is just do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with a small c, a naturally conservative person, and I need a kick to do things. And so one of the things I've got better at over the last few years is having an idea, having something. If you believe in it, just do it and get on with it and go for it. Sometimes good is good enough as well. One of the mistakes I've made is trying to make it perfect, and actually it's not about that. You just get on with it and you'll learn more, because what you think is perfect actually probably might not be perfect in other people's eyes.
Yeah.
So by just getting on with it, doing it, putting yourself out there, which is scary, I get that, but just do it and you'll learn a lot more, and yes, you'll make mistakes. Things won't go right. There'll be days when you're thinking, why did I do this? And I think, I would imagine, no matter where you are in your business cycle, I think there'll be people who think that at least once a day at some point.
Fantastic.
But again, kind of not losing sight of why you're doing it, whatever your motivators are, whether for some people it might be financial, it might be family, it might be enjoyment, and it might be a combination of all of them, and that's fine. So kind of don't forget that. But I think the main thing is just do it, get on with it, and try it.
Wonderful.
What's the worst that can happen?
Exactly. I actually love it when people make mistakes. Not that I can, laugh at them, but I think you need to make mistakes and you need to have failures in order that you learn from them, and then you think, this is what I did wrong, this is how I can improve next time, this is how I can be better. I think it's important that people at least make their first mistakes.
Absolutely. And I'm a firm believer that the Northern Affinity, where I've managed to grow it to in the past 6 months or so, it wouldn't be anywhere near where it is now if I wouldn't have done the previous business and made the mistakes and still making mistakes. That's fine, but hopefully making less, which is key. And I definitely wouldn't be there. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to go for it. And don't be afraid to change as well. And don't keep going down the same path. If it's not working, you can slightly change and amend what you do, because that's one of the benefits of being a small business on your own. You're not a huge business that takes years to turn around. You literally can say no today, stop, and start again if you want to. And so just go for it.
Wonderful. Great advice. So where can people find out more about you if they want to research more about you and the Northern Affinity? Can you share any social media links or a website where people can find you?
Yeah, so probably first place to start would be the website, which has got lots of information about the Northern Affinity, but also the people within the group, which is www.thenorthernaffinity.co.uk. Probably the other big, I am, and both the Northern Affinity are all the different major social media. Probably my main one myself is LinkedIn. So if you put Michael Edwards in Northern Affinity, I'm sure I'll pop up on there. I'm quite a prolific LinkedIner. If that's a word. I was discussing this earlier today. I don't know if that's actually a word, but I've decided it might be now.
You just make it a word.
I'll make words up.
Yeah, so, it's an official word now.
So that as well, and Twitter, Facebook, but things like Twitter are generally about football and stuff, not so much about work.
My Twitter, I've got too many Twitter accounts. I have a Real Street Twitter account, and then I have a Marcus Lee, and it just generally responds to things that the referee's done on a Saturday with a hashtag of whatever game I happen to be watching at that time.
Yeah,
but yeah,
don't ever get them mixed up. That's the thing.
Exactly.
And there's a mistake that we've all made.
Yeah, we can learn from our mistakes. Well, what we'll do is we'll make sure we put those social media links on the video on the website. We'll put them underneath for people who want to click and find out more about you, and we'll share those on the audio. We'll put those in the link. We'll put those out there. But Mike, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for coming in.
Enjoyed it.
It's been a pleasure. Love to have you back again in the future.
Anytime
when hopefully Man United have won something by then instead. But tell us.
I'll be retired by then.
You might not. It might be next year. Won't be next year. But yeah, we'd love to hear more about the Northern Affinity and any other future projects that you've got going on. But
happy to do so.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, you've made it this far, you've stuck it out to the very end, so thank you for watching this episode of So This Works. If you've enjoyed this video, please like it, please leave a comment, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, please tell a friend about it, please share this video, and also hit that notification bell so that you're notified as soon as a new video has been released. If you'd like more information about this podcast, please check out the website sothisworks.co.uk. I hope that you will join me for a future episode, and until next time, take care of yourselves.